Hashtag the GES crew. And how is that protecting your community and serving your community? When we go into a store and we have to purchase goods from somebody that doesn't look like us, there's somebody that doesn't understand us, there's somebody that doesn't even know how to communicate with us properly. That's not protecting and serving our community. So, like Big said, we need to get back to square one, having Black businesses provide services and providing them in such a manner that we appreciate it. And it's not an attitude when we go in there and we want to purchase goods or services. We need to get back to that. So, and I want to jump right into this since Ronnie was talking about this community, no snitching. Does that do a disservice when we don't alert the community about certain things going on in our community? How does it help when somebody comes in our community, breaks in a home, steals something out of that home, hurts an individual in the process, and nobody's talking? You want to lead off with that, Ronnie?
Well, I want to piggyback from what Big was talking about, and then I'll go into what you were talking about, Derek. As far as community, I think a solution for where we need to go from now, especially with everything being online, is to kind of pull back. Parents need to pull back from going into office, leaving. They need to maybe provide a service online, start their own business, and take back control of their household and their work situation. Maybe you shouldn't work for somebody. Maybe you should have your own business, provide your own service, right? Like take control of our lives. We don't have to go work for somebody. We have so much talent and we're so intelligent. Why not just figure out something, a service that we can provide, a problem we can solve, and you know, have your own business. And if you have that, then you have more time to spend with your kids at home and probably homeschool them because when it comes to these schools, um, and for our communities, these teachers really don't care. They're not placed there because they care about your child, and not unless they play sports or have some extraordinary talent. They don't care about these kids. They don't care about our kids. So why are we putting our kids in their hands? Like if I were to have a young child now, I would homeschool, period. And talking about community, I think it's smart to find people that are like-minded and start small. Start with a group of maybe 2 parents and with kids. Start small. Find someone that in your area, in your community, that's like-minded, and start to withdraw. Actually, that's what I think. Start to withdraw from the system that's damaging our kids. And as far as Derek, you were talking about snitching. Um, Yeah, I mean, again, I think a solution is to kind of pull back and withdraw because you can't get everybody on board. You got to start with whoever is on your mental level, whoever is on your frequency, whoever kind of understands that we need to work together. So, whoever understands you, start a small group. Um, maybe pick a day during the week and you all meet up and you talk about finance and you talk about schooling. If there's a child struggling with math, whoever's good in math can help that child, whatever. Just start small and start to withdraw from the system. Take our kids out of school. That's what I think. Honestly, because we know, I mean, we're at the age now where we know these schools, uh, they don't have our kids' best interests. So why send them there? Right? Schools are basically big babysitting centers. Not unless you go to a really good school that you're paying for in the States. If you're paying for it, yeah. It could be a great situation, but for most people going to public schools, they're babysitting kids and they're wasting their time and talent.
I concur on that. I think and the breakdown in the communication is from our generation to the youth, because now we all know when you get around 14, 15, you think you know everything. But to look up and see people that have been where you've been and have new ideas of how you can do it better, to give you a helping hand. And on my journey up, I didn't know a lot of people that were entrepreneurial minded. I mean, I had a uncle that was a lawyer, but I didn't really see that as an entrepreneur. I just looked at that as a job. But everybody else worked. Like I said, my dad worked for the government, and everybody in my neighborhood, they had jobs. There was not one that I knew of, business owner other than the candy lady, that was in my neighborhood, because there were so many things. Like that's my spirit. My spirit is entrepreneurial. It's not necessarily working for jobs. I've had jobs, but a lot of the jobs I've had were in the situation where I could earn income based on results and not based on how much time I put there. The time was irrelevant. The results is what paid. So
Yeah.
that is where I think we need to start showing our children, because honestly, they know about these positions and these jobs and these opportunities, that pay higher income, but they don't understand it. They just know that, what their parents are telling them, well, you go down there and get this summer job. Hell, if you're going to go get a summer job, you can pick up a lawnmower and a rake.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Big.
You know
I,
what I'm saying?
I think, well, in my case, I think a lot of kids do start out with an entrepreneur spirit. And what I mean by that is most kids are looking for odd jobs to do around the neighborhood or the house to make money. I know, like you said, cutting grass was my first business. Washing cars was my second.
Right.
And my son, same thing. Dad, let me do this to make money. You think if I did this around the neighborhood, people will pay me? So I think a lot of kids start off that way because they're trying to figure out how to put money in their pocket and, how they can do that for themselves. But do the parents embrace that? That's my question.
No. Well, I'm gonna say I grew up in middle class, and in the middle class world, the reason you are middle class is because you don't have a business. You got a job, and that's the system. It perpetuates itself.
Yeah.
So you may hear, people may talk down about, because see, this is what I understand, and this is what I want to portray to the audience. It's not what you do, it's how you produce from what you do. You could be a janitor. I know a few people that have cleaning janitorial businesses and are wealthy. See, it's not about if you're the janitor that work for the organization or the company, then you're only gonna make what they pay you per hour. But if you are the owner, you get the contract and you pay people to go work it. Not saying, and I tell people this all the time, it's nothing wrong with having a job, but your job should be part of what's funding your future and your dream. Because the dream is not to do that for 40 years. How do you get to live? How do you get to experience some better things? How do you get to provide some better things and better opportunities for your family if you only making $12 an hour?
Now, see, this is another issue because that's not taught. Like for me, anyway, I wasn't around any entrepreneurs.
And not to cut you
So
off,
everyone worked.
why would they teach that other than teaching you to go be an employee? And because that's what the system needs.
Yes.
Employees. This
Uh-huh.
doesn't need independent thinkers. You are the problem, when you're an independent thinker. But one thing I can say about this new generation that's coming up now, I'm very impressed about the things that I see that's going on. The internet is changing the world. And I hope anyone that's watching or listening to this understands the opportunity is huge. You don't have to play just in the US or your state or your city. Through the internet now, you have the ability to play worldwide. and you still don't necessarily have to travel. It's a lot of communication that goes on through the internet, through email, and through other types of what server exchanges where you can provide a service and you can be compensated. So get in the game and start to learn the new ways of doing things. If you want to go and be successful, go be a realtor or start a creative, because this is the thing. If you can give your kid 4 years of school $100,000, you should be able to get them 4 years in a career. They can come out making much more than that if they dedicate 4 years to being a realtor. They get paid. Just starting out, you're gonna get 50% of the commission of a sale of a house, and right now the average sale price is about $250,000. 3%.
Or, and I wanted to piggyback off that, or travel. Do whatever it is, like discover the world, discover different cultures, learn the language, whatever's in your heart to do. Go see how this world really is. Like that's when real education, to me, that's when real education starts. When you go out and you see what the world is about, what people are really about, that's when you find your superpower. So leave your comfort zone. That's another possibility.
Yeah.
All right. Let me kind of reel it in a little bit. No snitching.
I think that's ridiculous. I mean, the whole snitching thing, it's like no one trusts anyone. Anyway. And plus, it's like I don't know. No one trusts anyone.
Well, I think my whole point is, how can you be good with knowing that Miss Pearl got shot? Everybody knows who did it, and nobody wants to say anything. How is that helping your community?
It's a disservice to the community as a whole. To hold on to these misused ideologies. We need to embrace our community, and really, if you're all right, talking to the audience, if your parents said they grew up in a time where their neighbors looked out for one another, then that thought should be in your mind in itself as a thing to be able to, one, come together, and be able to look out for one another, and two, to be able to help one another when there is an issue that needs to be done. So if if someone robs your house, you as a neighbor should be willing to say, well, hey, let me see what's going on and let me help this person. I mean, it ain't necessarily you have to literally fund their situation, but at least be there to help them kind of pick up the pieces. Maybe, be willing to help clean up, or be willing to everybody come together, have a neighborhood watch, something to be willing to look out for one another. It should not be a issue of where one person or one family is over here and they're to themselves, and another family is over here to themselves, and whatever goes on, hey, that's not my problem. But yet you're in the house talking about this person like, okay, well, hey, I heard such and such got robbed, so hey, I'm not trying to have that or whatever. So then you either want to move out of the community, or you're going through extreme lengths to protect your community, when all it needs is just the ability to want to work together with one another to create a safer environment for that community. And once you do that, that will be the point in time where everyone can feel like this community can thrive and be more than what it is if everyone just lets everything be.
When people start reporting crimes and people start getting locked up for the crimes that are being reported, people stop committing crime. The crime rate drops in that area because they know if they go to that area, they going to jail. So you have to be an active part of the process. We got to protect our own.
Let me ask y'all this to change it up a little bit. How important do you think it is in protecting our history? We go to school and we're taught their history, but not our own. How important is it for us to learn more about our history, protect it, and teach it amongst ourselves? Anybody can chime in.
We
I
go ahead.
well, I mean, that's because you have something to be able to say that there's a beginning, there's a origin, a foundation that was laid before you came in the world, and in order for that foundation to build, continue to build, and be able to be a standing tower, a strong tower, is the fact that someone has to continue to tell of how that foundation came to be. So if you're not willing to cherish and respect that foundation, that history that came before you, then you're not going to have a history. You're just going to have an existence. You just being. You just came about. I don't know how I come about. I don't know, because you neither care nor want to know about their history. So it's very important to be able to be willing to learn it, so then you'll be able to respect and honor it. And in doing that, you're protecting it. It's very important.
I like to chime in on this. This is another reason why I say take our kids out of these schools, because I think I heard in the States now they're trying to take away the little information that's in the history books about Black people, slavery, everything else. Is that's true?
That's what I heard on the news as well.
Okay, so back to homeschooling and taking control over educating our kids. I think this is just the time we're living in. If we don't educate our kids, no one will. Sending our kids to school, we know that we weren't taught half anything about our history, right? And so when you don't know your history, how are you supposed to feel proud of yourself? How are you supposed, where do you get that power from? Now, back in my day, I got it from hip hop or whatever. We probably all got it from hip hop, right? But, and and just knowing like certain individuals, but there's a whole lot that we don't know. There's a whole lot that even in our families, information that they know, they don't pass on to us. And it's just messed up. So we have to find information, get information, and teach our kids ourselves. And this is why it's important to step away from the school, stop depending on these institutions that don't care about us. Basically, this is what I'm trying to say. We need to stop depending on these institutions for anything because they were built and set up like a mousetrap.
No, I agree. And what you said had touched home a little bit about just within our families, things aren't communicated about our history. I was home not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago, and I was talking to one of my cousins, and we got to talking about desegregation, and he broke down how that affected the city that I was born in. And it was just a lot of things about that that weren't told correctly. I know with desegregation in the history books, it makes it sound positive, but it actually wasn't a good thing for the Black community. So I feel you on that, and preserving, protecting our history can serve our youth now, because the history that they're trying to get our youth to create is not a positive thing in all aspects. If you look at a lot of the things that's taking place with our youth, um, it's not positive. How they want us to be portrayed. Some of the terminology that they're trying to make cool as far as our youth are using. We take a lot of negative and they help us turn it into positive when it's really not positive. We're being laughed at by other communities. And they use it and mock us in a jokeful way when they hear us say things or when they see us do certain things. So it's really damaging our communities.